the interim director for the Women in Business Impact Lab, WBIL. And just as a reminder, Impact DEN. DEN stands for Develop, Engage, and Network. So that's our purpose here today as we gather together. Um, we have virtual events and we have live events. So be looking in your email. Our next live event is the third week of February. And that one will be February 19th, Jenny Reese, who will speak to us on breaking the glass ceiling. So be looking ahead to that. Today, we are very pleased to have Emily Cheney visit with us and share some of her experiences and insights. Emily is a certified life coach, and she's also a recent graduate of UVU. She specializes in helping women achieve more in life while reducing stress and overcoming self-doubt. Her mission is to help women achieve a meaningful impact in the world, starting with healthier relationships with themselves. She's a wife, a professional singer, a voice teacher, and an adventurer. She's a passionate advocate for women's empowerment, and that's definitely what the Women in Business Impact Lab is all about. Emily believes in every woman's ability to achieve her deepest desires and make her unique mark on the world. So we're very, very excited to hear from Emily.
Camera on, doing. You got it? Oh.
Okay, and it looks like we have a lot of participants here today, so I will turn it over to Emily.
Perfect. Thank you. I am so grateful to be here with you guys today. Like she said, my name is Emily Cheney and I'm a life coach. And I'm really excited about today because we're going to do some teaching. I'm going to do some teaching at the beginning, and then the whole last half, we're going to do live coaching, which is going to be so fun. So there'll be an opportunity for whoever wants to come. We'll all be watching and learning from one another, but to coach one-on-one with me at the end. So just know that that is where we're headed. We're going to learn some stuff, and then I'm going to help you guys apply it. So let me just share my screen super quick, and I'm going to pull something up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so today we're talking about work-life balance. And my goal today is to help us get to the root of this problem, because I think there's a lot of different solutions and things that we can do to help improve how calm we feel in our lives and things like that. But like I said, today we're going to get to the root. So I want to briefly introduce where I'm coming from and just a little bit more about me so you know who's talking to you today. So like they said, I graduated from UVU pretty recently, and I actually studied music at UVU. My major was vocal performance, and I had so much fun. I had so many awesome experiences. But at the same time, I was also under so much stress. I put so much pressure on myself, and I felt like I was constantly overwhelmed. And no matter what, at the end of every semester, I felt like I was just burned out, and I honestly felt my love of singing and music like decline, which is a bummer when you really love something and you're studying it and you start to not love it as much because you're just so stressed about it, right? And so I was at this point in my life where I also got married. This is my cutie husband, Jonathan. He's awesome. So I was doing a lot of different things. I was a newlywed. I was in school working really hard performing. I also started my own voice studio at the time as well, so running my own business with that, among other things, right? And I was trying to do all the right things. Like I was trying to sleep enough, I was trying to eat well, I was trying to use a planner and use my calendar and stay on top of everything that I was doing. But my life just felt so off. Like I knew something was missing, because it felt like no matter how hard I tried to stay on top of my work and to have fun and to be confident and all those kinds of things, right? I just could never get there. This is just a long list of the emotions that I was experiencing at the time. Maybe you can relate. But when I would tell people about my struggles, because I really wanted a solution, I didn't want to live the rest of my life constantly feeling like I wasn't enough, constantly feeling like I was behind, or there was just too much to do. So when I would tell people in my life about how I was feeling, their answer was often like, oh, just you wait till you're older. Like, just wait until you have a real job. Just wait until you're not in school. It just gets worse. So I felt like this. And I was like, okay, I guess it's just life. Like, this is what life is. It's just always going to be busy. I'm always going to be stressed and overwhelmed. Like, that sounds like so depressing. Lucky. But that's honestly where I was, like this point of like acceptance. Okay. And then I met some life coaches, and they had a totally different take on life than anyone else I had ever met previously. They didn't talk about how busy they were. And I knew they were doing a lot still, right? They didn't talk about how stressed and overwhelmed. They never talked about feeling burned out. And I was like, they must be doing something different. Like, what do they know that I don't know about life? Like, there must be something I'm missing. And the main thing that they taught me was that thoughts create your feelings. And that might seem to some of you like, duh. But to me, I was like, wait, I had no idea. Like, all this time, I thought it was school. I thought it was my job, having my own business. I thought it was all the responsibilities you take on as a young adult and also getting married. Like, I thought it was all of that that was making me feel stressed, that I was feeling exhausted and drained and all those things. But then these life coaches were telling me a different story. And they were like, no, 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 it's not the things outside of you. It's not work, it's not school. It's literally just the way you're thinking about it. It's the story you're telling yourself about your life that's making you feel like you can never get it right, that you're never enough, and that there's just so much going on. Okay. And so I learned a lot from these coaches, and they helped me finish my degree working in the honors program at UVU on my thesis while doing my senior recital, while also going to a coach certification that was extremely rigorous, while going to school, while maintaining my business, all without feeling overwhelmed, busy, or burning out. Okay. And this was so mind blowing to me because previously I had been doing just normal life school things and I was drowning. Then I learned from these coaches a different way to look at my life and some tools, some of which I'm going to teach you today. And I was able to actually do all the things I was doing before, plus more, but without feeling like I was losing my mind, always falling behind. Okay. So that is where we're going today. That is the tools that I'm going to teach you. One of the main tools that they taught me, I'm going to teach that to you guys today. So let's participate a little bit. Let's open up the meeting chat, everyone. I would love to hear from you guys and have you guys, if you can, type in the chat. What are some challenges that you guys face in your different roles that you play? Like maybe at work, maybe like at home. What are some things, challenges? I shared a bunch of mine. What are some challenges that you guys have? Can we put those in the chat? Yes. It says endless to-do list. I'm wondering if you meant endless to-do lists. Totally. Perfect. Yes. Yes. I felt like that all the time. I don't have enough time. That is like the worst. That does not feel good. Yes. Emotional eating. That one is huge. Living paycheck to paycheck. Yes. No fun. I'm helping plan an event, so many different things go into it. Yes, that totally makes sense. Okay. Work-life balance, I'm so glad you're here because we're going to do that today. Parenting. Yes, that is a huge one as well. Thank you guys for sharing. Yeah, not having enough me time, not enough sleep, unsure what's going to happen, adult children. Thank you guys for sharing, okay? All of these challenges are so real, right? I've faced many of them myself. Some of them I haven't yet. And I want you to know that they're valid and they're real. But I also just want to offer that the real problem with these challenges you face, the real problem isn't what you think it is. It's actually something different. Okay. This is the foundational thing I want to share with you guys today. Circumstances versus thoughts. Okay. this is literally the secret to life, okay? So circumstances is just a fancy word for the things that happen outside of us. They are the facts of the world, the math, the numbers of the world. They're outside of our control, okay? So some examples might be like the exact temperature outside, not if it's cold or hot, but like the number. It could be like your exact body weight, how much money is in your bank account, those kinds of things, okay? And the important thing to know with circumstances is that they're actually neutral. So what that means is like circumstances, they're neither good or bad or somewhere in between until we like have thoughts about them, okay? So circumstances are technically neutral, right? Your weight, in the end, it's a number. How much money's in your bank account, it's a number. And while we might have many different opinions, perspectives, and thoughts on that one thing, when we're just looking at this very technically and very simply, it's a neutral thing, okay? And again, that last point I have there, everyone has to agree on them. So that means like there's no opinion, there's no adjectives or descriptions attached to circumstances, like I was saying with like the temperature. I can't say, oh, it's so cold, it's 30 degrees, right? If I'm just speaking of the circumstance, I would just say it's 30 degrees, okay? So again, the exact number on the scale is an example of circumstances. It's just how much gravity is pulling on you, right? It's not good or bad or too much or too little. It's just a number. Same with maybe what your house looks like, right? We might walk into this room and be like, yikes, that is such a mess, or have a whole bunch of thoughts about that. When we bring it down to the circumstance of it, it's a room, there's a couch, there's some stuff on the floor, that's all. Same with your to-do list. It can be really easy to look at your planner and we have all these thoughts, right, about how much is going on and if we can do it and if it's too much, right? But it's really just like the amount of time you're doing this to this. How many things are on your to-do list, okay? So your to-do list is technically a neutral thing. It doesn't necessarily feel like that, and that's okay, but we need to recognize that it's neutral. It doesn't have an effect on us until we have thoughts about it, okay? So our thoughts, simply put, are the meaning we give to circumstances. And they can't be proven. They're also optional. So there are like a ton of different studies out there that say kind of similar but different things. But in general, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts, okay? And these thoughts, most of them are subconscious. Most of them, they just come through our brain and we don't even really notice they're happening. And in many ways, that's a good thing because it's really efficient. It helps us save energy. Our brain is really smart and awesome like that. But there also are a lot of thoughts that go through our brain that aren't serving us, that aren't helping us feel the way we want to feel and live the life and be the kind of person we most want to be, okay? So any thought that comes through your brain is optional. Thoughts, like while they might come through our brain and our brain is going to offer us thoughts about things, in the end, we choose what we believe, okay? And the important thing to know about thoughts is that, again, they can't be proven. So circumstances technically can't be proven. We can all agree that I don't actually know the real temperature outside, but this morning when I went to the gym, it was 16 degrees, which was not cool, in my opinion, right? So we might all have different opinions on the temperature, but we can't argue with the number, right? But we can all have different thoughts about what that number means to us. Okay, and the last thing you need to know about thoughts, like I already said earlier, is they're the reason for our feelings, okay? So we get on the scale, let's say we see the number 150 pounds, and then maybe you think the thought, I'm not acceptable, okay? Another example of a thought would be, you come into this room, there's stuff all over the floor, and you're thinking the thought, I'm always the one who has to clean, okay? And last example, coming back to that to-do list, we see how the number of items in our to-do list, how much time we're spending doing what or whatever. And we have a whole bunch of thoughts, and one of them is there's too much to do, okay? And our thoughts create our feelings. Now, all of this happens so fast. So you might not feel like often it feels like the circumstance is what's making us feel something because this happens like faster than we could even comprehend, right? But in reality, there's a circumstance, then we have thoughts about it, and then the feeling comes. It's just so speedy. We often don't have like there's just not always time to catch it in the moment, if that makes sense. Okay, so focusing on feelings now. Feelings are created by our thoughts, and very simply put, they're just sensations or vibrations that happen in our body, right? We think a thought, some chemicals are released, and then we feel it. Maybe a raced heartbeat, maybe it feels kind of light and fun, maybe it feels really heavy or like it's gripping, right? That's really all a feeling or an emotion is. And our feelings, they fuel our actions. They fuel our behaviors. And the way that we're feeling either makes us act in an empowering way that moves us and helps us be the way we want to be, or it keeps us stuck, okay? So looking back at these examples, we get on the scale, you see the number 150, just for example, okay? Maybe you think the thought, I'm not acceptable. And that thought is what makes you feel shame. All right, remember, it happens so fast. It seems like it's the number on the scale. It's my weight, it's my body that's the problem. And that's why I feel so horrible about myself. Not actually the case. It's really just the way you're thinking about it. Not saying maybe we don't want to change. That's totally an option as well, right? But it's going to be a lot easier to do so when we recognize it isn't our body, our weight. It's just the way we're thinking about it. In this example, let's say you told your kids to clean up the house and you get home and it looks like this picture, okay? And then you think the thought, I'm the only one who cleans around here, and you feel frustrated. It might seem like it's the kids and it's the house and things all over the floor that make you feel frustrated. But remember, there's the thought in between. It's really the thought, I'm the only one who cleans around here. Okay, last thing. Let's say you look at your to-do list and there's maybe like 10 things you need to do in the day, over the course of the day or something. And you're thinking the thought, there's too much to do, which would make you feel maybe overwhelmed. And again, it seems like it's the to-do list, but it actually isn't. It's the way you're thinking about it. Okay. So far to recap, we have learned that circumstances trigger thoughts. They don't create thoughts, right? A circumstance happens, something outside of us that we can't control. And then we have thoughts, our interpretation, our perception of the circumstance. Okay, that's the thoughts. And then our thoughts create our feelings. So I want to take a second to pause. Does anyone have any questions or just like comments so far with what I have gone through? Anything? And if not, we can move on. But you can type them in the chat, or you're welcome to raise your hand and just speak it as well. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to come back and check. I'll be checking on the chat. So if you ever want to throw anything in at any point, if you're like, but how does it apply to this? I have a question about this. Go ahead and put it in there because I'm checking on it constantly. Okay. So now that we know this is the foundation, right? This takes us to the model. This is the tool that I wanted to teach you guys today. The model is the primary tool that was taught at the life coach school where I was certified to become a life coach. And the model, it really is just a fantastic tool. It's really how life works, is like a simple way to put it. But the model is a very easy tool that we can use to gain more awareness of how our thoughts are affecting our life. So we can apply the model to any problem we face, to any maybe a goal or any situation that we ever have in life will literally fit in the model. Okay. So we already know the first three parts: circumstance, thought, then feeling. So all we have left is actions, then results. So the action line is super straightforward. Oh, let me also explain. So with the model, we have written from top to bottom: circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. What you would do to use the model is like fill in each spot according to like one specific problem. So I'll show you some examples of that in a minute. But anyway, the action line is really just the things you're doing or not doing because of the way you're feeling. So also some other words to describe that might be your behavior, the tone of voice that you use when you say something, or maybe like how you do it. Are you doing it really confidently and like outgoing, or are you kind of like holding back or being hesitant or passive aggressive, right? Those kinds of things. And then of course, our actions, the things that we do or don't do, create the results we have in our life. So our results are driven by our actions, And you, like each individual person, is responsible for their own results, right? Because your actions fueled by your own feeling, created by your own thought, creates your result, right? No one else can control that. And same with the other way around. I always just love to touch on and help us remember that we aren't responsible for other people's results. Sometimes we think we are. We think that we need to like step in and help fix someone's life, or like maybe that we're affecting them in a bad way or something. And while we can be a good or bad influence on other people, and that's real, in the end, other people, like, they're responsible for their own results. You aren't, okay? So let's put these examples that we've been using in the model. Okay, so we get on the scale and maybe it says 150 pounds. And you're thinking the thought, I'm not acceptable. That thought makes you feel shame. When you're feeling shame, you do actions like maybe you stop weighing yourself. Maybe you would judge yourself, hide your body. Maybe you don't go to the gym because you don't like want people to see it. Maybe you start and stop diets. Maybe you don't look in the mirror, right? It could be a whole lot of different actions, but maybe this is what's coming from the shame, okay? Which would create the result of, I don't accept myself, okay? So you might notice that the result sounds very similar to the thought. And that's very common, okay? The way that we think directly affects the life that we create. And the model shows that perfectly, okay? And in this situation, when you're not this person, this is all figurative, right? Like when this person isn't accepting themselves, it's super, super hard to change when you're in that mode, right? So this using the model on this situation could help this person gain some more awareness around how the way they're thinking about it is keeping them in the same place and perpetuating maybe this thing that they're struggling with. Whereas if they could think about it a little bit differently, it would create a different emotion, different actions, and then hopefully a different result. Well, actually always a different result. Okay, next example. So again, let's say you told your kids like the circumstances like you told your kids to clean up the house before you got home, and then you get home and it looks like this picture. And your thought is, I'm the only one who cleans around here, which might make you feel frustrated. When you feel frustrated, maybe you clean it up like really loud. Like maybe you're like putting the dishes in the dishwasher really loud. Maybe you don't actually ask for help again. Maybe you vocalize your frustration in an unkind way. You don't make changes to how chores are done. Maybe you complain about your kids, and maybe you're judging yourself, or maybe even like comparing your house to like other people's houses. Okay. So all these actions, the effect of these actions is you make sure you're the only one who cleans. Okay. So again, that result line is very similar to the thought line. This isn't always the case, but it pretty much always is. Okay. What you think creates the result. It's not the items on the floor. It's not your kids not doing what you asked in this example, right? The reason you feel frustrated, the reason this person makes sure they're the only one who cleans and perpetuates that is only because of the way they're thinking, okay? Perfect. Let's go to the last example here. So let's pretend for this person, there are 8 things on the to-do list. And they're thinking the thought, there's too much to do, which might make them feel overwhelmed. And these are the kinds of actions that always happen when we're feeling overwhelmed, okay? Maybe they talk about how much they have going on instead of like doing it. They distract themselves on their phone, make lists of what to do, maybe think of all the other things they need to do instead of like actually doing it. Maybe doing the laundry and the dishes, not the work. Maybe they're not prioritizing. Maybe they're struggling to focus because their brain is just so like chatty and full of like noise of like, there's so much, right? So that creates the result of I make it easy to have too much to do, right? If you notice in that action line, it's like they're adding things and they are like, and I've totally done this. I think we all do this, right? I've seen this with myself. I've seen this with many of the clients that I have coached. When we're feeling overwhelmed, these are the kind of actions we create, which perpetuates this feeling of overwhelm. And that results of making it easy to have too much to do proves the thought true. Like the thought that there's too much to do, your actions are literally proving that true. So it makes your brain like grab onto that even tighter and be like, yeah, I told you, like, this is so true. There really is too much and I just can't do it. It's everything else's, it's all the other things in the world's fault that I feel this way. When in reality, when we look at the model and we line it up this way, we see that it isn't the things going on that makes you feel frustrated. Overwhelmed, excuse me. It's your thought. There's too much to do. Okay, perfect. So here is the full model. Circumstances trigger thoughts. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings drive actions, and then actions create results. And that result always comes back to the thought. Always. They're always going to be a reflection of each other. Okay. Again, if you have questions or thoughts, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer whatever you have. And thank you for sharing that you have the realization that your thoughts self-sabotage your productivity. I've had that same realization myself. I'm so glad you're figuring that out. Okay, I want to give you like an actual real life example. Those other ones are real life examples, but I want to give you one from me that's literally been me like the past 2 months. Okay. Actually, I lied. I'm sorry. I want to actually share a few other things about the model just to clarify. Okay. So I want to be very clear that I am not saying that we should always think happy, positive thoughts. What happens often when we learn the model and learn about the effect that our mindset has on our life, we think, well, if I want to have a happy, positive life, I just need to think happy, positive things. And that's actually not entirely true. Okay. Like, for example, let's go back to like the weight example. Let's say someone weighs 150 pounds and maybe that's not their ideal weight. Okay. And their thought would be like, I'm not acceptable. Okay. Just switching that thought to a positive thought and saying, I'm so loved and I'm so beautiful and I'm so amazing just the way I am. They might not actually believe that thought. Okay. So notice like if someone doesn't actually believe those things when they say that, it's not going to like land the same. Their brain is just going to be like, no, like actually it's going to like reject those thoughts. Okay. So when we're working with the model, we don't just want to look for happy, positive thoughts. We want to look for productive thoughts. We want to look for believable thoughts. Okay. The way to know if a thought is believable is if it makes you feel the emotion you're looking for. Okay, so again, going back to the weight, if the person's trying to tell themselves that I am beautiful, but it just makes them feel like disbelief, or it makes them feel like maybe that like rejection feeling of not agreeing with that, their brain like doesn't agree with that thought yet, it's not going to go anywhere. But if they can tell themselves a thought like, I have a body and so do other people, and I don't judge theirs, so maybe I don't have to judge mine, right? Like maybe if they told themselves something like that, there's a million other thoughts you could choose, right? That might be a more believable thought, which would help them feel the way they want to feel and create some changes. Okay. The next thing I'm not saying is that what you're thinking is wrong or bad. Okay. So don't fall into the trap of also being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe the way I was thinking was making me do all these things that I didn't want to do. And like getting mad at yourself, that's not useful, right? Like you can think whatever you want about any circumstance, about anyone, about anything, and that's not wrong and that's not bad, right? The model is simply a tool for awareness to show you how your thoughts are affecting your life. And then the last point I wanted to make here is that you should never change your circumstance. So I'm not saying that you should never change your circumstances, right? Even though the way we're feeling and the things that we create in our life always come down to the way we're thinking, there's nothing wrong with literally just changing the circumstances, right? Coming back to work-life balance, there's nothing wrong with like taking on less at home or at work or like changing some things about your schedule if you want. That's great. But just know that that isn't technically the problem. It's always the way you're thinking about it. Okay. So what I recommend doing is solving at the root, figuring out why you feel stressed, why you're feeling overwhelmed or burned out or whatever it is before you go change the circumstance. Because then it will actually last and we won't just be applying old thoughts to new situations. Okay. I love that thought that someone added in the chat. I might be 150 pounds, but I feel healthy and I'm glad I do have the option to move my body. Beautiful. I love, that's a wonderful example of another thought that might be more believable. Okay. Also, what I am saying is the model, like I said, is an awareness tool. So use the model as a way to question your thoughts. Because remember, the things we think aren't necessarily true. They're simply our opinion, our perception. They're based on our belief systems. Okay. So question your thoughts and choose to think thoughts that are productive and serve you. Because remember, thoughts are optional. So we can choose to think whatever we want to think about anything. And then your brain is powerful, and the model is a tool to use it more intentionally. And again, be curious and compassionate with your thoughts, not judgmental, right? We don't want to go into the land of, I can't believe I was thinking that way. I shouldn't be thinking that way. That was so negative of me. That's not useful. Instead, create the space to be curious and compassionate about why you're thinking the way you are. I see so many people fall into the trap of just trying to think positive and just trying to swap, like thought swap. Like I'm thinking this negative thing, now I need to think this positive thing. Sometimes that works, but usually the most transformative and effective way to use the model is simply to question the thought. Why am I believing that 150 is too much? Why do I believe why do I believe that my to-do list is too long? Right? And that's actually going to get you further. Okay. Now let us apply this to work-life balance. And again, I want to share an example from my life, something that I worked through very, very recently. So like I said, I'm also a voice teacher. And on Mondays, right now, I just brought on a lot of new students. And so Mondays, it's like I work my life coaching job most of the morning into like early afternoon. And then the literal rest of the day, I'm teaching voice up until like 8:30 at night. So Mondays are kind of a long day for me. And I kind of had some beef with that for a while. And I was like, why? Like, why did I do this to myself? Why, like, do I have to teach all these people? Like, I wish I could just do one job and not two. But in reality, I want to do both right now, right? And so this is a model for how I was feeling about the situation. So the circumstance is that I taught voice lessons for 5.5 hours on Mondays. And I had a lot of thoughts. One of my thoughts was, I have no time for me, which made me feel resentful. When I was feeling resentful, I was not present during the lessons. I was sometimes multitasking during the lessons, which is not cool, but I was, okay? I was not organized or prepared for the lessons. I would complain about the lessons. I had a hard time like focusing, like just in general the whole day, because all my brain was just focused on was all the lessons I had to teach. So my energy was drained because of that. I didn't take any time for me. My Mondays were like literally like 9 a.m. to 8:30, like I worked. When that was completely unnecessary. I would also stay up late on my phone after teaching, which would make me tired into the next day. It was just not good. So that created the result of I make it impossible to have time for me, and I make the situation worse than it needs to be. Okay. It's not ideal for me to have to work, that long of a day. Like, in my opinion, that's not ideal. Okay. But because of the way I was thinking about it, and because of the way I was thinking about it, I was literally making the situation so much worse. So the way that I handled this for myself is I had to give myself some space to recognize that the reason I felt resentful and the reason I was like struggling so much on Monday and then going into Tuesday wasn't because of my students. It wasn't because of voice lessons. I had to give myself some space to recognize it was the way I was thinking about it. Okay. So it didn't happen overnight. This was one of those examples of where I kind of had to work with this one for a little bit and kind of be patient with myself and compassionate and be like, this is new. You haven't always worked this long. And so so I ended up coming to a new model, and I decided I wanted to let go of this old thought, I have no time for me, because I realized that thought wasn't actually true. I had a lot of hours available to me in the day. Like I had lunchtime, I had dinner time, I had a little break between lessons in the afternoon. I just wasn't using those times. Okay. So I decided to think the thought, it's a lot, but I can do it. And that thought alone made me feel a lot more calm. Okay. When I was feeling calm, it was a lot easier to be focused and present. I would take really good care of each student and I would make time to prepare my lessons like ahead of time. So I wasn't like scatterbrained and like rushed feeling. I scheduled me time ahead of time, even like 20 minutes to paint my nails. I do that most Mondays. I didn't worry about what's next. I think always thinking of what's next. I was very in the moment. So that helped me conserve my energy. And I also actually asked for help from my husband and helping with dinner and helping with lunch and other things throughout the day. So I didn't have to worry about it just on Monday. Okay. So that created the result of making sure I'm the best teacher I can be. And I make sure that it doesn't drain me, right? Because I put things in place to prevent that. I couldn't see the option for those things when I was living in this old model. Okay. When I was thinking I have no time for me, there was no space or availability for creativity to find ways for me, to find ways to like make Mondays not so draining. Okay. But when I was able to find this new thought, it's a lot, but I can do it. That's when everything changed. So I want to be very clear. I did not change how much I was teaching on Mondays. The circumstance is exactly the same. And also notice I didn't tell myself a thought that I didn't believe, like, I love teaching, everything's great, right? Within that thought, I let the reality of teaching 5.5 hours on Mondays stay. But I just told myself a different story about it. I told myself that even though it's a lot, I can still do it. Like, I'm strong, I'm capable, I can do the thing. Okay. And that's what flipped the situation around for me into something that's a lot more fun. I have a lot more fun on Mondays now. Okay. So the lessons were never the problem. I thought they were the problem. Everyone I told about my Monday schedule thought the lessons were the problem. But the real problem was how much of my energy I spent complaining, all the energy I spent worrying and resenting my lessons. That's what actually zapped my energy. And that's what like made the Mondays feel so exhausting. When in reality, it was just 5.5 hours of teaching. And I could totally do that. Okay. So once I stopped blaming the lessons, I had the mental and emotional capacity to handle it. So coming back to you guys, to work-life balance, and honestly, any problem that we face, if we put like work-life balance into the model, there's actually no such thing as work-life balance. And the reason is because there's no like one singular perfect definition of what the perfect work-life balance would look like for everyone, right? There's no circumstantial work-life balance. Work-life balance is like it can't exist technically, right? Because there's not a point at which you will feel better and you will feel calm and not stressed and in control. Like there's no point at which your schedule will become this perfect thing and everyone will listen to you and comply with everything and life will be perfect and you will feel better. Like that's not how it works, okay? The real problem is thinking that you need to achieve this perfect balance between work and life. That you have to have this perfect schedule and this perfectly curated plan for your life before you allow yourself to feel calm and capable and like you're doing a good job. Okay. That's actually the root of the problem when it comes to work-life balance. There are many, many different ways to run your life. And they're all great. I'm sure they're all wonderful, right? And I'm all for different strategies and ways to plan and use your time and ways to, self-care and things like that. I'm here for all of them. But the root of the problem is believing that there's some perfect way to do it, or that there's this point in the future at which like things will calm down or things will get better and you'll feel better. But it's actually the other way around. You feel better, then the other things get better. You on the inside clean up whatever mess is going on in your brain, which is normal, right? We're human, our brains do that. But it's you taking care of that first, and then the other things follow so much more easily. Okay. Believing you're capable comes before feeling calm, in control, and empowered. And that comes before achieving the result of finding a balance between work and life that fulfills you. You don't need better balance. You need a managed brain, right? The model helps us manage our brains. It helps us look at our thoughts and question all the stories and things going on up there that are creating our life. We don't need to change everything about our life to feel better. We just have to change our brains. Okay. You don't need the perfect schedule. You need emotional and mental clarity. And the being able to handle what life gives you and what comes at you through life is going to be a lot easier and much more manageable when you have the emotional and mental things in place. Okay. Remember, your thoughts create your reality. So watch your thoughts. The model helps us do that, right? Question the story you tell about your life, because all of it is optional. And what you choose to think will directly affect the way you experience your life and ultimately the life you create. Okay, my friends, that is the model. That is what I wanted to teach you today. I want to know any questions, any thoughts on that. I'm going to pull down, stop sharing my screen for a minute because we are going to change and do some live coaching. Okay. So again, go ahead and throw any thoughts or questions you have into the chat. And while we're doing that, let me explain what live coaching looks like, okay? So one of you will just unmute and we'll have a little conversation and I'll help you apply the model to a problem you have in your life or a goal you have or something like that, okay? And so it can be scary, and I just want to throw that out there, that it's totally normal to feel like nervous or like, talking and sharing about your life in front of a group. But this is a very safe place, and we're only going to talk about whatever you are comfortable talking about. Whatever you bring, that's what we can talk about. I would guess we'd have time for probably 1 or 2 people, depending on how long. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. So if you want to be coached, go ahead and raise your hand, like on the Zoom, not the Zoom, we're on Teams. On the Teams thing, there's a little raise your hand button. Go ahead and raise your hand and I'll bring you on. And we're going to apply what we worked on today to your life. Okay. Any takers? Any super brave people that want help solving their problem? Emery Gibson, you're amazing. Let's do it. Are you unmuted? I think I heard you
Yes,
laugh.
can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of like how to best describe. I would just say like school in general,
Yeah,
but
school.
just
School
trying
is
to like balance, yeah, like school and work, and then like trying to decide if I can like handle more to
mm-hmm.
achieve more. I would say that's like the overall.
Okay, yeah. Tell me, what do you mean like by wanting to achieve more, like add more?
So I guess like I want to get a certification this year, and I feel like I keep telling myself I'll do it in the summer, but I feel like summer is going to be crazier. So right now is a better time to do it, but life is still crazy right now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I really could push it off until like even like next year, but I just like want to get it done, if that makes sense.
Okay. So what do you think is like stopping you? Like what maybe is in the way? Like you want to get it done, but what's stopping you?
I feel like I don't trust myself with time management. Like I'm not good at balancing my time. I waste a lot of time in between things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just to be clear, this is about like adding a certification on top of like school and work.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So to everyone in the group, notice the certification, school and work, however much time, the responsibilities that would relate to that, those are the circumstances, right? Technically neutral things. Okay, Emery. So the certification, school and work, and you're thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management. Okay, how do you feel when you think that thought?
It makes me feel kind of bummed. Like I wish that I guess I wish I could have like past experiences that prove to myself I could do something like that.
Mm-hmm. So is the like if we could just name like the one emotion that comes from thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management, what would that one emotion be? Is it bummed? Because that's totally an emotion. Or do you think it's something else?
I guess disappointed. That's a better way.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you do when you're feeling disappointed because you're thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management?
I distract myself.
Mm-hmm. What does that specifically look like? Like, do you distract yourself with what?
A lot of times emails or like responding to people, but also social media or just planning another thing in between.
Mm-hmm. What else are you doing when you're feeling disappointed?
Um, like I guess I tend to think more about like I'm hungry. I don't know, just physical things too. Or I think
Mm-hmm.
about what things I like what other things disappoint me too that I'm not getting done. It's kind of like a cycle.
What does that sound like in your head?
Sounds negative.
Yeah. So, like, you kind of like that negative voice in your head.
Yeah,
What
for
else
sure.
is it? What is it saying in this
Um,
situation?
that you can't achieve things.
Mm-hmm. What aren't you doing when you're feeling disappointed in relation to the situation?
Um, I guess I'm not like boosting myself up. I'm not like spending my time wisely. Um, I'm not
Mm,
taking care of myself as well. Yeah.
okay. Anything else you want to add that you're doing or not doing when you're feeling disappointed?
I think that's pretty good.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. Okay, so let's take a look at this model. I wrote a model all about you. Yay. And I want you guys to pay attention as I go through each section. And the conversation we're going to have after, I invite you guys, even though you're not the one specifically being coached, there's something here for you too. There's some way to apply what you've learned to apply what we're talking about with her to a situation in your life, okay? So in this situation, you have school and work, and you want to add a certification, okay? And you're thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management, which makes you feel disappointed. When you're feeling disappointed, you said you distract yourself with emails, social media, planning other things. You think about other things, like maybe how you're hungry, and you have a negative voice in your head that's saying things like you can't achieve things. You're also not spending your time wisely and not taking care of yourself, right? Which makes it impossible, creates the result of making it impossible to trust yourself with time management. Okay, thoughts on that, my friend?
I feel like that's pretty accurate. I would
Yes.
say the other thing I would add too is like it you kind of said this in earlier that it just makes you tired and burnt out.
Mm, totally, right? I think the like doing that, like all those actions, they obviously create a lot of different effects on our life. And I think that's for sure one of them. So I'll add that here. Okay. So right now it seems like the reason you feel disappointed in yourself is because of like school and work and the certification and the way you currently use your time, right? And it
Mhm.
seems like the reason you're like distracting yourself with emails, social media, thinking about other things, feeling like you can't achieve it, like negative thoughts in your brain, not spending your time wisely, not taking care of yourself. It seems like it's because of the schoolwork and your actual work that you currently have and then wanting to add the certification, right?
Mhm.
But what I want to show you, okay, is that it isn't school and work and the certification and whatever responsibilities come with that. It's not even like your past evidence of like what you've done in the past, okay? That actually isn't the problem here. The reason you feel disappointed is because you're thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management. The reason you're distracting yourself with emails, social media, planning, thinking about other things, having that negative voice like, you can't do it, not spending your time wisely, not taking care of yourself. The reason you're doing all those actions is because of the thought, I don't trust myself with time management. And same with the result, right? Of making it impossible to trust yourself, plus burnout and feeling tired and drained. It seems like it's just because of the thought, okay? And we can tell that's true. We can tell it's the thought because someone else is probably in a very similar situation as you. Someone could be in the exact same situation, and they could be thinking a million other thoughts that might make them feel a different emotion. And those thoughts could be all over on the spectrum of positive to negative. They could be thinking like, oh, there's no way. I do not want to take on a certification. They could be thinking like, I am not capable of this. They could be thinking, I think if I make some changes, I could work this out. Just random examples, okay? And those different thoughts would make them feel a different feeling, which would create different actions and different results. So it isn't the circumstance, right? It isn't school and work and the certification and all of that, everything that entails. It's the thought you're thinking, I don't trust myself with time management. Okay, I just talked a lot. I would love to know what's coming up for you right now.
I guess I'm trying to think of other thoughts that I could replace it with. Because I definitely I feel like I've tried the strategy of just like trying to be positive when
Yes.
the circumstance like isn't really getting any better. Um, yeah, so I'm just trying to think in my head right now what other thoughts are that I could believe over time.
I'm going to take you a slightly different way first, okay? So I'm wondering, like, why are you choosing to believe the thought that you don't trust yourself with time management?
I think because I just don't have any examples of like times that I have managed my time well, so I just don't feel like I'm as capable.
Mm-hmm. Why do you need examples to believe you are capable?
I guess they bring validation and just like prove that I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Why do you feel like you need proof?
I don't know, that's a good question. Um, I don't know.
So let's look at this thought again, like in a different way. So with the thought, I don't trust myself with time management. Can you tell me if there's anything that might possibly not be true about that thought?
I guess it's not true because I do get like whenever I guess like my classes, like I always complete my assignments that and I like will do work, it's like I don't push off those things. Like I feel the pressure of like accomplishing things that are on my plate, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that has to do with I do maybe I have too much time to manage that I don't have enough obligations. If I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to teach you just a quick thing about your brain, okay? Our brains, number one, are super past focused. They take all of their decisions and like ways that it's going to process information, and a lot of the thoughts it's going to offer you are going to be based on the past. So it makes perfect sense that you wanting to like do something that require you to manage your time better. It makes perfect sense that your brain is like, I can't trust myself. Like, think of all these examples that I have of times that I have not managed my time well, right? That makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. Okay. But if we want to create something new, we can't rely on the past, right? And I would also offer that our brains are also naturally negatively biased. And that's like a survival-y kind of thing. Like it protects us and keeps us safe in a lot of ways. But when it comes to things like school, where and work that aren't life-threatening, right? Like our brain sometimes interprets new things, actually it pretty much always interprets new things as a potential threat, as something to be afraid of. So I have a hunch, you can tell me if you think this is true, but I wonder if part of the reason why you're thinking the thought, I don't trust myself with time management, is like maybe like a little safety thought that keeps you safe where you are without pursuing like this desire that you have.
Yeah, that's true. Keeps me in my
Mhm.
comfort.
Yeah, which again, let's just be like really compassionate with ourselves. That makes sense. Doing new things things we've never done before that are going to push us and make us grow in other ways is challenging and it's different and it's new. And our brain is like, no, why would I do something new when I can just keep doing what I've done in the past since I know it and it's easy and it's kept me alive so far, right? That's kind of how our brain works. So again, I would love to just pause and like ask how you're feeling and what other thoughts are coming up for you right now.
That's actually really interesting. Yeah, I guess that's something I want to think more about because it's true. And yeah, like it kind of just makes me want to like challenge myself more and go more into that gray area of not knowing just because I am so used to the mundane schedule and maybe it could be something positive because it's so different and new.
Hmm. When you think about it that way, like how does that make you feel?
More optimistic.
Mm-hmm. And see here, there's no right answer, right? Like there really isn't with whether to do the certification now or to wait till later. Probably either option is going to be wonderful and amazing for you, and only you know, right?
Hmm.
But that thought, I don't trust myself with time management, like that thought is keeping you stuck and perpetuating the same story that keeps proving that. So we don't necessarily need to just like change the thought. We totally can. But I want to
Hmm.
know, like, does that thought feel as true to you right now? Or has it loosened a little?
It definitely feels more loose. Like I think it kind of makes me want to like goal set now, like make a plan
Mm-hmm.
to try to push myself more.
What do you think that plan might look like for this?
I think like specifically for this certification, there's like a lot of studying that is involved. So I think even just like a stepping stone in that direction is like looking into all the resources or hearing or talking to people that have done it before just to see like what it was like for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem
Okay.
as the idea isn't as scary, I guess, to go like to try to venture out and get more information.
Yeah. How do you think having that more information might help serve you in
I think
knowing?
it'll help. I think it can give me like confidence, like seeing, because I feel like a lot of people who get the certification are in the same or if not similar situation. And so kind of just seeing that they could do it could show me that like I'm in a similar boat and can do it too.
Yeah. And just to end, like, I just want to offer that, like, maybe you don't need proof. Maybe you don't. I
Mm,
mean, that's nice to show our brain, but like, maybe that's not a necessary part of knowing whether you can do this or not. Maybe it's really just more of a decision.
okay.
Okay, we're almost out of time. So, anything else coming up for you that I can help you with, or do you feel good for right now?
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for being so brave, Emery. I'm clapping for you. I hope other people are too. You're
Thank
so
you.
amazing. Thank you forever for being so brave and for sharing. Okay, my friends, I'm going to share my screen one more quick time if I can find it. Okay, thank you guys for being here. You guys are amazing. And I would love to be able to stay connected with you guys. I would, since this is like virtual and I feel like we don't get to be as much of friends because we're all on our computers all separate, I would love to connect with you. So I'm mostly on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there, there's my little QR code. And then if you're not an Instagram person, which I totally respect, I also have my email on there as well. So I would love it if you would just send me a message and tell me that you were there. I would love to meet all of you that were here. And if you wanted to get coached today or have a question that maybe you didn't want to share in front of the group, please let me know. I would love to help you apply what we learned today to your personal life. Okay, so go ahead and shoot me a message. And I hope to hear from lots of you. So I'm just going to leave that up there. But that is all I have for you. So again, thank you for being here. I so appreciate the Women in Business Impact Lab. You guys do amazing things. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was absolutely amazing. Really appreciate the practical framework and how you led us through examples and helped us learn how to apply it. So wonderful. I think we've all been rewarded for being here today, and we will stay in touch and hope to see excuse me, hope to see everyone next month. Take care, have a wonderful day, and good luck with your future goals. Bye, everyone.
Emily, before you jump off, it looks like Bree Campbell had a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna just answer it real quick. So Bree just asked, to stack on her example, what if she went for it, then realizes it's too much? What do you do at that point? I think that's a fantastic question. And honestly, I don't really have the answer. Like, I think Emery would have the answer for that, right? But I think just some examples of things that you could do would, number one, to just like first check the thoughts, right? Anytime we do something new, anytime we're doing something that pushes us outside of our comfort zone, like it might feel like too much. And there's nothing wrong with like wanting to change that and maybe back out or drop something or find a way to like make it not as much, like circumstantially not as much, right? But so that's totally an option. But I would also like look at those thoughts as well, because like too much, that's like an opinion, right? It's not a fact, it's a thought. So that would be, I think, a great place to explore, like, why is it too much? Like, how much do I value like the effort that this is taking me versus like, you know, like how much do I value like putting in the work to this versus like how much time it's taking and how much effort it's taking for me and how much it requires. Okay. So there's really not a right or wrong answer there, but I think it would be a wonderful place and like an interesting way to like explore what's going on for them, for her there. So does that answer your question, Bree? I don't know if you're still here, but can't see everyone who's here, but that would be my answer. Okay, I don't see any other questions.
Thanks, Emily.
So, thank you guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.